Hello Sudbury.com readers, Mark Gentili here. I'm the managing editor of Northern Life and Sudbury.com. We're back for another installment of Tea with the Editor. This time we're at Beard's Coffee Bar and Bakery on Kathleen Street, just about the coolest corner in Sudbury perhaps. And we're sitting down today with Dario Zulich, the owner of the Sudbury Wolves, local developer, the man behind the True North Strong Center, the man who wants to bring an entertainment complex to Sudbury like no other. We're going to sit down, we're going to have some coffee with Dario, we're going to ask him some questions, see what makes him tick, and hopefully learn a few things. Thanks very much for agreeing to and giving us some time to do this. We know you have a busy schedule, you're always on the go, and it's really nice that you decided you could give some time to Sudbury.com and chat a little bit about this. One thing I wanted to know, and I kind of want to start a little soft if we could, but you're Italian, your mom's Italian,
yep.
Your mom's from Italy.
Correct.
Where in Italy is your mom from?
Right near Venice, a small town called Castello di Godego, right? It's
Okay.
in Treviso.
In Treviso.
That's right.
My dad's from Salnano. It's a little town in the Marchegiane.
Oh, okay.
So my dad came here in 52, 51,
My
52.
mom came with her parents and her three younger sisters back in about 1960.
Okay.
Yep.
So one question, I always try and ask this about Italians. 2 kitchens in your house?
Absolutely. Guaranteed. Even in my house right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 2 kitchens for sure.
It's the immigrant experience is children of immigrants have a kind of a different perspective, I think, on sort of life in general than I think people who grew up.
Absolutely.
You agree?
Without
What do you
a
think
doubt.
it is? What do you think it is?
I guess a lot of humility.
Yeah.
Right? Do not waste, that's for sure. Turn off the lights. Do not waste your food. Eat everything off your plate. It's unbelievable. And I think that's a result of where they came from.
Yeah.
And so, no, it's definitely, I have those values and I bring them with me right now to this day.
My dad was much the same way, and I'm much the same way with, what are you doing with the lights on? You're not even in your room. Like, there's conservation. It's
unbelievable. Even a dirty rag.
Yeah.
Even a dirty rag is useful for something. Right?
Exactly.
So even if it's dirty, don't throw it. Keep it, because you never have to clean the dipstick on your car or something.
Yeah.
So there's nothing, everything that's shiny, put it in a little jar of nuts and bolts, because somebody will be able to find a use for it. You give MacGyver something with it. So you have to, we have a culture of saving, that's for sure.
Yeah. Now your dad is Croatian, right?
Croatia. He lives. He comes from a small town called Cepic in Croatia, but it was a part of Croatia that used to be Italy.
Right.
And during the wars, the borders have moved back and forth. So he speaks both languages.
Oh, really?
Unbelievably.
Okay.
And so he came over earlier in 1959 or something. I mean, he met my mom here in Sudbury.
Yeah.
And so. He speaks both languages, and when he met my mom, they only spoke Italian. They spoke no English.
Right.
So growing up, I only spoke Italian, but I don't know. I only know a few choice Croatian words, like everyone does. But I can speak Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I really wish that I'd had. My dad didn't speak Italian much at home unless he was cursing. So the only Italian that I besides conversing with Nonna a little bit and getting enough to get by with her, the bulk of my Italian has to do with choice words, as you said.
Unbelievably, those are the words my parents would never. They've never cursed in their lives.
Yeah.
There are some Italians that do. They have never done. My parents are classy, and I'm hoping to.
My dad's not classy, or my dad's not classy.
No, I'm sorry about that. Did not mean that. There's a lot of Italians. They go. My parents have never. My dad has never sworn in front of me.
Yeah.
And unlike me, and I wish I had that characteristic. Like I'm a contractor.
Yeah, I'm a reporter. The cursing kind of goes hand in hand with the job.
I did not mean to insult you.
Just teasing.
Honestly.
No, I'm just teasing you. But there is really when you come to a new country that way, there is. I know my dad talked about when they first came over how people didn't, they weren't happy about immigrants, which is kind of an issue that we're going through again right now. I mean, my dad would talk about the sort of slurs that were thrown at him for being Italian. He talked about having to, pick tomatoes in the summer to help the family out, and there was a sort of work ethic that immigrants brought with them to the new world. Your parents, I assume, had that same.
Absolutely, yeah. Very modest, conservative, savers, hardworking, work before anything else.
Yeah.
And it's an unbelievable work ethic. And I learned, I guess, through the years, as my parents and that group of immigrants came over, they were hardworking people.
Yeah.
And you're right, they had some issues. They couldn't golf, or they weren't invited to certain places.
Yeah.
I guess over time they got assimilated to our society. but you know, so it wasn't easy for them. And my parents have told me that it's funny how when they came over, they brought their hard-working culture to this land of opportunity with them, and they have, you know, have passed it down to us. But the Italians in Italy have also changed their culture. So even when now my parents go back, they don't have that same hardworking culture that we have here.
Oh, really?
And that's what my parents are telling me, and I think that's true. So the whole world has moved, but that little group of immigrants, when they came over, I think, you know, and they preserved those values, and I take them with me, and I'm proud, and I think it has a lot to do with some of the places I'm going.
Yeah, it's just that having that perseverance, I guess, is part of it.
Work above all else, you know, and sometimes it's a curse, right? But
so Zulich Enterprises, that's something that your dad started?
Correct. Well, both my parents.
Both they worked together? Oh, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
wow.
They were a very complimentary.
Okay.
Gas pedal and brake pedal.
Yeah.
Office versus the field, right? Revenue versus expense.
You're very much a gas pedal, so.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And so my mom understood the business, and as did my dad. But my dad could fix anything. He was a genius in being able to fix, MacGyver anything in the apartment buildings that they first started. Yeah. When they first came over, a lot of their friends went and bought a house for the first time. And instead of buying a house, they were looking at this building. They were renting an apartment, and they said, wouldn't it be better as opposed to paying a mortgage rather to be collecting the rent that other people would otherwise pay, and then we pay the mortgage with that? And that was their philosophy from day one. So the first thing they bought was a 15-plex, right, on Wellington Heights, which we still own.
Oh, yeah?
Our family still owns it. We never sell anything. That's the thing. You buy it and you keep it forever. And so I grew up in that. You know, I grew up in that and I remember distinctly when there was that hurricane back in Sudbury in '71. I remember looking out the back of that basement apartment, and I saw our toys whipping around in the wind. So grew up in an apartment,
and you saw your parents working hard every day.
Every day, they take it home with them. They work it at night. And and every growing up, every Saturday, my dad would call on me to go work.
To go work with him?
Yeah, well, because he's always.
Are you the oldest?
I'm the oldest.
Okay. How many your brothers,
sisters?
I
have 3 younger brothers.
3 younger
brothers.
brothers.
Paul, Rob, and John.
Okay.
And so he'd always call on me, and as we got older, he called on all of us, but he always called on me because I was the oldest, and if I did nothing, at least to keep him company. I could imagine I do that with my son right now.
Sure.
And so to keep him company, and so if he, you know, and he'd always forget something in his truck. We're fixing a washing machine or a stove or a fridge or something, or painting, and I'm an expert painter because I could paint the apartment my whole life. So, but he always forgot something in the truck, and he'd send me down as his apprentice. Go get me this, get me the blue toolbox or the red toolbox. And so it was, and I grew up with that work ethic, and every Saturday, and I keep saying, Dad, why are you asking me? Why don't you ask my brothers? Well, you're the oldest. Yeah. Well, the next year, Dad, why ask me? Well, you're still the oldest, right? I'm the oldest every year. Yeah. So, but sooner or later, my brothers also came through the ranks. But I was his first call, that's for sure.
There always seemed to be a sort of a lesson in everything that the parents give. I remember you talking about one time going to a hockey game with your dad, and there was an incident with a chocolate bar.
Oh, that was terrible. It was terrible. I'll never forget that. I talked to Andrew about that.
Yeah.
So we go.
What's the story?
We went to the Sudbury Arena.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I said that story the very first when I first bought the Wolves. Right? Yeah. So we go to the Sudbury Arena. It was just me, and back then my younger brother John wasn't even born yet, I don't think. So it was just me and Paul and Rob. Go to the Sudbury Arena.
You would have been about how old at this time?
Oh, it would have been 10, 11.
Yeah.
Maybe John was born, but maybe he was at home at 1 or 2. So we go into the Sudbury Arena, and my dad buys a chocolate bar. I think it might have been to see Wayne Gretzky play, because it was packed. It was packed. So maybe it was later. I'm not sure the dates, but maybe that was the second time that we went to see Gretzky. But in any event, I remember exactly where we were sitting, and we sat down there, and my brothers, we all had a chocolate bar. And, you know, being Italian parents, you don't get a chocolate bar every day, right? You know, I mean, you buy a box chocolate covered almonds, you get 2, right? That's it. You get 2 cans of pop for 4 boys. You have a little drink at the bottom of every glass. And so we don't get a chocolate bar too often, but we get the chocolate bar. And I said, you know what? And I was always a saver. My whole life, I saved things. My money, I would never spend it. I'm always a saver. So I saved my chocolate. So my brothers were eating the chocolate bar, watching a hockey game, and my dad, after the second period, I pulled it out of my pocket. And I started flaunting it to my parents, to my brothers. Look what I got, right? I got just like Eddie Murphy. Look what I got. Well, my dad hated that, right? He just took it out of my hands and he split it into 3, and all 3 of us had it. So they had each a chocolate bar and a third, and I had 1/3.
Yeah.
I was devastated. He says, "You never flaunt what you got, right? Never. You know, you're never to be that way. Never just rub it in people's faces."
That lesson stick with you?
To this day. There's
I imagine.
I can't eat in front of people unless they're eating too.
Yeah.
Right? Number one, I cannot eat in front of you if we're having supper.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter how hungry I am, I will not eat alone if I'm in front of people. And number 2, I will not flaunt. You know, that's just not right. So I'll never forget that. It resonates.
Yeah, I bet it does. There are those life lessons that we
For
get
sure.
that just
There's
sort
a
of
lot
stick
of
with you down through time.
There's a lot of them growing up with my parents. Every parent says.
Now, your goal, I think I remember reading, when you were sort of ready to leave home, you wanted to be a basketball player.
I did.
Were you? Now, tell me a bit about basketball. How did you get? I mean, that's not the sport that most Italians play.
No. Well, first I started with hockey.
Okay.
Right? So my parents.
So you do have a bit of a background in the Canadian
game. A
game.
little bit, yeah. Went into. We were living on Wellington Heights. I played at Riverside Playground, and I remember in grade 2 we moved to Albany Street, which is just outside the Donovan right here.
Yeah.
Just above the green stairs on Montague.
Okay.
And and I remember the very first time my dad got me all dressed up, and he drove me from Albany Street down the road, up Burton Street, up and around the church, up to Antwerp, and it was daylight. It was in the middle of winter because we played outdoors. My dad says, "See, it's very simple. We have to walk home. There's no problem. You just walk around here, see you walk around the church, and there's a playground." So you remember that? I said, "Yeah, Dad, I was 7 years old. Like I wouldn't send my like a 12-year-old walking around the block, let alone in a brand new neighborhood, right?"
Yeah.
Sure enough, at the end of that little practice, and he got me going there, and I started walking home, and little kid on the team. Forget his name, but he was Croatian too. He says, "Don't go that way. Go this way. There's a shortcut. Went through a back lane somewhere here to Donovan." That was it. Got disorientated, and I'm walking home. He said, "See ya," and I'm walking home, and he said, "Just down the road." I was afraid. I was 7 years old, and I'm walking down the street, and with a hockey stick with the skates behind me, and I was afraid. I was lost in the dark in a different neighborhood, and I had no cell phone. What do I got, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm walking, and I started crying down the road, and I remember walking down the street, and I saw Hassett, and he was coming by his car. I know Connor, the houses next to each other, and knew all of them. And I said, but I didn't know back then, the first night in our neighborhood. I said, "Hey, mister, do you know where Albany Street is?" And I'm crying. And he says, "Yeah, it's just over there. There's a street right there." And just 2 houses away out, there was a street. I ran to the street, look up, and my eyes were streaming with tears, but I was laughing, running home. When I came home, my mother just gave me a big hug. "My poor son, were you afraid?" I said, "Yes, I was afraid." My dad called me a big sissy. I said, "You big sissy, what are you crying for?" I'll never forget that day either. Anyway, so my heart's pounding right now. It's unbelievable. It had an effect on me.
We should have walked the neighborhood maybe.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, and 7 years old, grade 2, I remember that clearly. So anyway, but I'm not a sissy. Right? I'm not a sissy. And so hockey. So I started playing hockey from there. I played goaltender a few years later.
Okay.
I played hockey and made hockey right to grade 8. Grade 9, I went to high school, St. Charles College, right here on Pine Street.
My son goes there.
And so I played hockey, but I played basketball for the basketball team, and I had to choose. They said, "You have to choose, play basketball or you can play hockey." And I really liked hockey. I loved Ken Dryden, he was my idol. So I said, I'm gonna play hockey. I really love basketball. Played hockey, and I wasn't the starter. I was second string. I said, I really love basketball. So the next year, I said, I'm going to play basketball. So I quit hockey, went to play basketball. Didn't make the team.
Okay.
And I don't know what it is. The best thing that ever happened in my life, right? Did not make the team. So I was devastated because I thought I made every single layup, hit every single shot. And the coach wasn't even looking at me because I think he had it predetermined what he wanted his team to look like. Mm-hmm. And actually, there's something to be said. Actually, I could metaphorically, I could use that right now.
Sure.
And I think that was predetermined, his team. And I don't take anything for granted anymore. Okay. And so I didn't make the team. I was devastated. But that was another life lesson that I learned. I didn't take nothing for granted. I worked every single day. I went to St. Charles College. I walked there from the Dunham St. Charles College on Pine Street. I walked at 7 o'clock every morning. Father Marshall would rebound for me, and I'd watch all the practices, and I practiced and I practiced. Went to Laurentian after school by bus, and and my mom picked me up, and I practiced so hard. I said, I will never take it for granted again. I was upset to my core. In grade 11, I made the senior team. And then grade 12 and grade 13 senior team as well. So I started every year. I actually went on and made it at Western University.
So you made the varsity team
at University of Western Ontario.
Yeah.
And because basketball
what was that like? Like that moment that you made it? That must have been, after those years of work, that must have been...
Well, it was, 12 spots and there's 30,000 students there, right?
Yeah.
And I was a walk-on. But again, I didn't take it for granted. I actually picked up the phone back then. There was no email. I just called University of Western Ontario. I called for the coach and I said, my name is Dario Zulich. I'm going to be coming off your basketball team. I want you to make sure you see me because I'm going to make your team. I'm never going to take it for granted again, anything. And you can see that.
That takes some, to call up the coach and say, hey, look, this is me. You're going to see me.
Yeah.
Just want you to know that you're going to see me.
Well,
that seems like an attitude you seem to have that approach.
Well, I'm not going to take it for granted, right?
Yeah.
You could be the best there is, but if you're not noticed, it'll pass you by.
Yeah.
So I use that to this day. I could actually say about this in my we're going to talk about my event center, right? I'm not going to just assume. I'm going to make sure that everyone knows about it. But I made sure my coach knew about me.
Yeah.
And
it didn't work out very well for you, though, did it?
It did not.
What happened?
No, I played basketball towards the end of the year. The season was over, and I was so proud to make that team. It was everything, and I came back for an alumni game, and I was just so happy with my skill sets, and I'm getting better. Toward the end of the season was over. I was just horsing around the gym, playing some pickup basketball in the gym at Western. I cut this one, my knee popped out that way.
Oh, no.
And back then, the ACL ligament surgeries are not just overnight. It is a 6-week cast, and they drill into your leg, and that was the end of that.
Oh, that was the end, like no more basketball for you.
I tried the following year, and it just couldn't recoup in time. It was the beginning of summer. By the end of summer, couldn't recruit. I couldn't cut, and then I said, now, what am I going to do with my life now? Again, another one of those things, the best thing ever happened to me, right? So just like
worst thing at the time turned out to be
just
the
like
best
the
thing.
coach cutting me. I learned, the harder you work, the more you get.
Yeah.
And then, not making that basketball team in the following year, I said, what am I going to do with my life? So you have to, I guess, make a person out of a size year. So I looked around and I said, well, Western doesn't have a bad business school.
Yeah.
So,
but what always, like I've heard you tell that story, and I always wondered was, like, you could have picked anything, but what was it about business that that drew you? I mean,
well,
it's not bad. It's not sports.
I grew up in business, right? I grew up in business. Well, actually, the year before, I bought some real estate in London, right?
As a college student.
That's right. Yeah, I was 19 years old, right, in my first year.
Okay.
So my mom, again, saying, okay, this is my son. But back then, they thought like an 18-year-old kid was a man.
Okay.
Or like a man's man. Right?
Yeah.
And you leave home at 24 and into the army and stuff. So my parents thought I was a man. I was 18, going to university. And I said, what keeps my boy busy will keep him out of trouble.
Yeah.
And no better way to keep busy than to work hard, right? So she said, why don't you go find yourself a duplex? Buy yourself a duplex. So I and I was a saver, so I had my savings put together, and my parents matched my savings, and I go out there and buy a duplex or triplex, and I keep myself busy so I don't be fooling around with my friends, going out in the bars and so on.
Really? So you
And so I went, but again, I don't know why I was driven with this ambition. So there I was with enough money to buy a triplex, and I had a real estate agent showing me high rises of apartment buildings because we grew up with apartments.
Yeah.
And I'm always in the apartment. And so but by aiming that high, I ended up with enough money to buy like a duplex or triplex. I bought 29 townhouses.
Okay.
So unbelievably leveraged that if I had 2 vacancies, I would have lost
29 townhouses?
29 townhouses. It was crazy, the numbers, right?
So you're 19 years old. You're 19 at the time?
19.
And you thought, what I need is 29 townhouses.
Well, because I was aiming big, right?
Yeah.
So I shot for the stars, got the moon. So I was going through high rises, right? And I said, that's going to be a little stretch. So sure enough, I was able to, so highly levered, like 5% down or something. It was like, the townhouses were unbelievable for that.
Is there a lot of building going on in Sudbury at the time?
No, this was in London.
Well, this was in
This
London.
was in London while I was there.
Okay. Oh, so you're in university in
That's
London.
right, that's right.
And you thought, I don't have enough to
My
do
mom
playing
wants to keep
basketball.
me busy. Keep busy, so keep
Yeah.
me stay out of trouble. Right?
Oh my God.
Don't go. Don't be promiscuous. So, anyway,
See, in college, I like to go to the bar.
Yeah.
to
Well, no, she
meet
wanted me to go
girls,
paint apartments and collect rents, right, and be irresponsible. So this was in college, and then she later said that was like a bad decision. She was worried for me because now at 29, I remember the day I closed with the same lawyer I have today, Gerard McAndrew. I went down there and I said, I want it, and it was so highly. The first mortgage, the Bank of Canada Trust looked at me sideways. The lawyer called Canada Trust. You know who's buying this? A 19-year-old kid you're buying your houses that you're lending to. But the second mortgage was a vendor take back. I was in the right place at the right time. I offered high interest rates, and so I was so highly leveraged, and everyone was secure. And I talked about I want. Finally, at that final minute, my lawyer at 5 o'clock on a Friday night, on June 30th, '83. My lawyer looks at me and says, 5 o'clock on a Friday, the London registry office. He goes, Dario, congratulations, you're one of 29 townhouses. Couldn't breathe. It just hit me all at once. Oh my God! What did I just do?
Yeah.
Right. I am down a path of no return.
Yeah.
I can't.
You're not even 20.
I can't go to the bar. I can't go to Grand Bend. With my friends. I can't take off. I am stuck. Not stuck, but I am committed.
Yeah.
And it took my breath away. He said it was visible. It was visible that I turned white. And then I had to go and collect rents. First time, 19 years. I don't even want to talk to people. And I said,
You must have some stories about collecting rent then.
well, it's unbelievable. There were some unbelievable stories. It grew me up too big time.
You never got beat up. You
Never got beat
laid
up.
out.
Never got beat up. No. But I went there. The rents were cheap back then, $300 a month in apartments, and so then a townhouse. And I remember talking to the first one, the 375 Ridgewood, and I asked Gerard, I said, "Will you come with me to collect the rent?" He says, "No. My work is done here." He sat back on the hood of my 72 Grand Torino. He cracked open a beer. And he says, "My work is done. It's your job now." And I said, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
A 72 Grand Torino had a big hood on like a pool table. And it was an old one because my dad got a nice $2,000 car, right? So it actually broke down on the way down a few times. But nonetheless, he said, "Go up there, say Dario Zulich here collecting rent." And I was so nervous. I said, "My name is Dario Zulich, collecting rent." And who didn't give rent to a little kid?
Yeah.
Show them the papers. By the time I got the 6th one, I got my confidence up. By the time I got the 12th one, everyone started complaining about the problems with the property. By the time I got to the 29th one, I called my mom. I said, "Ma, I said, we made a mistake. This place is falling apart. We made a mistake." I was so nervous. I was by myself down there.
Yeah.
Again, I was by myself.
Do you still own those townhouses in London?
No. 5 years to the day later, right?
Yeah.
So I went to, so it's actually because of those townhouses, and because I broke my leg, I looked at the Western School of Business and said, "You know what?" I said, "I'm here anyway. I'm in London doing
I have all
nothing.
these properties. I don't know what the hell to do with
And
them.
I'm alone in
Yeah.
a strange city." And I said, "What am I going to do in this city?" And I'm tied to this thing. I've got to cut the grass, rake the leaves, paint, change shingles, and collect my rent. And I'm by myself because the basketball team, everyone left for the summer, but I couldn't because I was committed, and that's what my mom wanted. She wanted me, to be committed. My parents wanted that, so I was there, and I said, "Well, I got nothing else better to do," and I put an application to business school. I said, I'm gonna apply to it.
Yeah.
So knock on the door. Same old thing. I'm not gonna just take it for granted. Knock on the door. My name is Dario Zulich. I want to make sure you got my application here. I'm in London anyway, so I just want to make sure. I introduced myself to the lady. Her name was Lynn Lesko. I'll never forget that. So she introduced herself. I said, "Yeah, we got here, but unfortunately, we're not going to admit you." And I said, "We're not going to look at your application." Why not? You need a 70 average to get in.
Yeah.
I said, "Here's my transcript. It says 10 courses, 70%. They rounded upward. You had actually 69.8. So we can't take a look at your application." And I said, "Oh my God, are you kidding?" I said, just give me a couple of days." I went to every prof's house that summer. I was in there anyway. I went to every prof's house, knocked on their door. I said, 2 marks of the goodness of your heart might allow my application to be looked at. The odds of me getting accepted are nothing. So basically, it hurts you, doesn't hurt me, doesn't hurt you, doesn't hurt me, doesn't hurt the school.
Yeah.
Who cares? Just give me 2 marks out of the goodness of your heart. Just give me a
You
shot.
went to every single
2
professor.
profs gave me 2 points. That's all I needed.
Okay.
Boom, my average went up to 70.0.
Yeah.
So I walked into to Lynn's office and said, "Lynn, there it is, 70.0. There you go, man. My average is up.
Yeah.
Profs made a mistake or something." She said, "Well, thank you very much." There, she puts it onto a pile of 3,000 applicants, and there's 130 seats in this best business school in the country. I said, "Oh my God." I said, "Now what?" So every second day, I was in London, cut the grass, go talk to Lynn. I said, "Lynn, how's it looking there?" "Oh, we're still waiting for you." paint something, paint an apartment. I said, Lynn, how's it looking? Well, we're still looking. I said, Lynn, I want you to consider this in my application.
Yeah.
I wrote letters. I had letters of reference coming in from whoever was a professional. I knew my doctor, my dentist.
Yeah.
I wrote a letter to Judy Erla.
Who's Judy Erla?
And she was an MP at the time. So
Okay.
I didn't know her. I
Yeah.
knew Henry Gowigan, who used to work for her.
Yeah.
I said, Henry, you got to get Judy Erla, write me a letter of reference. I didn't meet her. I said, well, please, 5 minutes of your life could put my life on the road to success.
Yeah.
And these are some things you maybe write about me, right? And Henry vouched for me, so she wrote in a letter, House of Commons letterhead, about me, varsity basketball, has own real estate, and so on.
Yeah.
And so I have letters of reference going in, and I'm bugging them every second.
You really
day.
wanted into that school.
When I want something, you want it, right?
Yeah.
And so so then finally, so I went to Lynn after, and now all the profs are getting to know, who the hell is this Dario Zulich guy, right? And so I'm in there every second day. I'm bringing her coffee, right?
Yeah.
I'm bringing her a cup of coffee, because I
So
knew
you
by
guys are
then
friends now.
she wanted a cup of coffee. So here's a cup of coffee, Lynn, just a little donut, right? And then
Yeah.
she started talking again. She was smiling, and so finally one day I said, listen, I said, I'm coming to Western, for an education, not to get a big job.
Yeah.
So therefore, I don't need to be wasting your time. I don't waste my time. Just let me sit on the back step
Sure.
of the classroom. I'll sit on the back step. I will not lift up my hand. I want to ask a question. I just want to learn for myself. I will write an exam.
Yeah.
Instead of handing it, I'll take it with me. I said, you don't have to I won't even be there. Just give me a little bit of oxygen in the
Sure.
back of your room. I'm there for me, because I'm learning to learn, because I'm going to be a success, and I need your schooling.
Yeah.
And I was just outrageous with it all, right? And I tried to make them feel like they needed me. I said, in the future, I'm going to be a success, and all my success, I'm going to be successful anyway. It's going to be attributed to you. Anyway, I did whatever I could. So finally, the last day, it was in the end of July on a Friday. I said, Lynn, how's it look? How's it look? She goes, Dario, there's 2 seats we're looking at left. I said, Dario, we're looking at you today.
Yeah.
I said, please, Lynn, okay. So after I cut the grass for about 4 hours, because we're living in the forest city, the grass was crazy in London. I drove to the school. I said, I knocked on the door. I said, Lynn, what do you think? How's it look? So anyway, it was emotional. Man.
Okay.
So she goes, we're gonna take a chance on you.
Really?
So, like the average getting in was 85. She goes, Dario, do not let us down, but we are gonna take a chance on you. And so sure enough, I was the dumbest guy ever.
floored?
I was beside myself. I couldn't believe it. Just about 2 months ago, I was in Toronto, and I bumped into a person, Kristen Lesko.
Yeah.
Same name, and she was at Ivy School of Business in Toronto. I said, Lynn Lesko? Well, no, I'm married to her son. I said, you okay? I said, well, she was an admissions officer over at Western for 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And so she, I told her that same story.
Yeah.
She went back, told her mother-in-law about it. Her mother-in-law remembered. I said, I wonder if she remembers
How could
me.
she not? You brought her coffee, you
She
visited
wrote
her
me,
every day.
I'll send you an email. She sent me an email saying, Dario, you can't, I still remember that day when you brought in coffee, we all chuckled about it. I still remember the look on your face when we let you in.
Yeah.
And she said she followed me those last 2 years to make sure that how I was doing, because I didn't let them down, right?
Yeah.
But I had the lowest average ever to be accepted at school, and I'm proud of it, I guess. Average people at 85 couldn't get in.
But that sort of jives with what you've been telling me about this sort of work ethic, this perseverance, you know what I mean? Like, it jives with sort of how you were conducting your life up to that point. I mean, not too many 19-year-olds go, you know what I need? 29 townhouses.
No, I've always had that curse, right, of probably biting off more than I can chew.
Why did you come back to Sudbury though? I mean, if you were doing so well in London, you had these townhouses, you were sort of building something in London,
Yep.
but you decided to come back to Sudbury
Well,
for some reason.
I'm the oldest of 4 brothers.
So you had no choice.
Yeah. Well, no, I think I had a try. My mother did not want me to come back.
Yeah.
My mother says, "Go make yourself a career." I said, "Ma, you already got my parents. You have all this property." I said, "We can really do something good." I said, "Let me apply my business school learnings, right?" And I know, my mom says my parents would say that I forced my way back.
Yeah.
And but there I was, and I was in the office. I go with my dad every now and then, and my mom in the office, and she taught me the ropes, taught me how to speak to bankers and lawyers and accountants.
Did you want to come back to Sudbury?
I did. I wanted to come back home as home, right?
Yeah.
And so I was driven, even though she said I shouldn't. And so that's the reason why I sold them 5 years later. Like I had them for 1 year while I was back home in London. I didn't like to drive back and forth, so I sold them.
Okay.
And made like 20 times my money. It was unbelievable. And I took the money and put it
That
back
must
in.
have been a nice chunk of
It was
nice
huge.
paycheck.
It was unbelievable. I don't want to talk about the numbers, but it was unbelievable for a kid that's 24.
Yeah.
And I just put it all back in the kitty over at my parents. They were a family business. Right?
Okay.
What makes one of us stronger makes us all stronger.
Yeah.
And so
Was Zulich Enterprises
it was
at that
yep.
point?
Yeah, and we
Okay.
had some apartments at the time.
Okay.
and our office was out of our home.
Okay.
And I remember a month after getting back, I remember talking to Gerard McCandrew, same lawyer, and there's a piece of commercial real estate for sale. We've never had any commercial. I said, well, I said, what's commercial all about? And he said, well, there's a pile of leases, read through them, and there's no rent controls. You can do what you want with the leases after the lease period comes due. I took a look at it, and I was probably too young and naive or dumb to know any better, but I put in an offer. Again, highly leveraged with a vendor take back.
And your parents had never been, your parents had always been apartments
only.
Residential, not
but they trusted me. I was a man, and I went to Ivy School of Business, and so I bought my first piece of commercial real estate where Times Square Mall is, where Ripe Restaurant is.
Okay. Yeah.
In '86. And one of the best things we've ever bought. It was highly leveraged, but in short order, there was a lot of empty space. There was some warehouse space in there. I was able to, that's when I first learned construction. I built a few walls. I couldn't believe how fast walls go up, because I knew nothing about construction, but I hired a few subtrades. I trusted them, and they just did it, and I'm sure I paid for it now that I know construction. Right, I paid for that lesson, but I built some demising walls. I took bigger space, moved into smaller space, made some office space. It got all rented up, and the property went up like 4 times the value in 3 years.
Okay.
And then it started. Then you had a little bit more leverage, and I started buying with my parents, and it was always a teamwork, right? My parents, my brothers joined after their university, and that's how Zulich started taking off in residential, commercial, and then into land development. And
when did the development start? Because what you're looking at building now, and we'll get to the True North Center in a second, but that's a far cry from just managing some property. So when did the development come? When did you go from being like a real estate guy to a builder?
Well, with some of our apartments, we had some residual land, and I think the development charges were going to go up. So I said, I think we should be building this apartment. It was a 107 unit apartment building. Okay. And again, taking off more than I could chew. I think we built it ourselves, and it was a stretch for sure.
Yeah. Did it take some convincing to get your parents to?
You know what? They've always been supportive. My whole family.
Okay.
That's the one thing. We'd always kick the tires from many different angles, but they were always supportive. They trusted me. So. And it's ended up good so far, but sometimes it takes time, right? So then by building the first big apartment building, the Meridian apartment buildings, we built that, my first building ever built. And then I said, we can do construction. I do my own construction anyway with commercial spaces. Then I bought a building where the Red Lobster is. It was an old Firestone garage, turned into a little strip plaza. Then we did our own construction, and then from there I said, well, if we can build our own commercial and we can do our own multi-residential, I said, well, then we can do our own housing too, right?
Okay.
So that's somehow, I said, well, it's just another facet of diversification of residential housing. Apartments, let's get into construction, home construction. So I picked up a block of property there in the East End, and which we still have to this day. That's where, in between, it's the south side of the property, which we own on the north, now where I'm proposing the event center.
Right.
And it's on the south side, it goes all the way back up. My brother John is running that, and he's creating another unbelievable little subdivision there, a little community. And but that land was bought 25 years ago.
Wow.
And again, that's, timing fixes everything in real estate.
Yeah.
Right. And so
time fixes everything in real estate.
It does. Well, in my opinion, you can overpay today, but if you have 100 years to wait, you've underpaid, right? But who has 100 years? Right, so you're trying to make it quick. You're trying to make it so timing fix everything. So here we are, 25 years later. My brother is developing it. I got draft approved, and the economic cycles and stuff go up and down. But as long as you have the wherewithal to withstand those cycles.
What's the biggest thing you built?
We at TESC or at Zulich?
Well, okay. Actually, let's back up and go. When did the sort of TESC thing happen?
So we built the Marine apartments. We got sort of into residential apartment subdivisions and development. And we're a landlord, and there was a downturn in 96,
okay.
96, 97, 98, and I said, oh my God. And
like the economy just tanked?
It tanked, and then we missed a whole upcycle. I think the economy stayed down while Toronto went up a cycle and down a cycle, so it was just down. And
how do you, now you're an optimistic guy, can I say that?
Yep.
You're a pretty optimistic guy.
Always.
But when you go through a 3-year period like that where
that was longer. It could have been 10.
It could have been 10.
I think now we're going through a 5-year, right? But
how do you keep that like, do you take those life lessons you learn from being the child of an immigrant, from having that sort of perseverance? The guy who bought 29 townhouses when he's 19. How do you stay sort of motivated, optimistic during when you're in a business that has so many cyclical?
You got to make the best of a bad situation, right? So So you just have to believe. The sun still comes up tomorrow, no matter if it's cloudy today or not.
Yeah.
And it's going to come back, and the harder you work, the more you get. And so it's not a matter of just praying, right? Never pray for that. And we're church going folks. My parents made sure of that. Right?
They're Italian and Croatian, of course, they're church going folks.
Let me tell you, it doesn't matter how late in high school we got home. My mother made me go to Holy Trinity, man. It doesn't matter what. Me and my brothers, she kicked us out of the bed. So we are going to church as long as we live in that house. But the one thing you never pray for is money.
Yeah.
The harder you work, the more you get. You're not going to buy a lottery, take and pray for it, right? You work hard, you get more. And so the harder you work, the more you get. But you pray for your health, pray for your love, pray for your happiness, right?
Yeah.
And you pray for your family, right? Things you can't control.
Yeah.
And to some extent, you can actually control your own health too. So you can't you can't. That's a little shot to my brother. Should quit smoking, right? But anyway, he's indestructible. He's indestructible. So.
But TESC, the TESC Zulich.
So if there's down, you don't pray, right? You go and you roll up your sleeves and you go to work. And if there's a will, there's a way, and there's always a way. There's always a way. So that's what you get up every morning. Your crying does nothing about it, right? Crying doesn't fix problems. You just gotta just get into it, and once you start, you'll find a way.
Okay.
So always motivate. So the economy's down in '96.
Were you married by this point?
No. Got married. Yeah, I was. Got married in '95.
Okay.
And so the economy's down in '96. There was a little stint where I tried to rent a space to the Toronto School of Business. Had some partners in there, and then I said, well, I'll go manage those and get my salary from them as opposed to drawing off Zulich. And I had partners. At the end of '98, the partnership sort of dissolved. And another life lesson: be careful who you get in bed with as partners. And then, so in '98, my father-in-law's been after me since '95, '96, as soon as I got married. He says, you know what, you're building commercial, you're building residential. Why don't you come into some real construction and take over TESC contracting?
Okay.
TESC stands for Tom, Ed, Stan, and Claude. He started in '78.
Okay.
So he's Tom. He's the last surviving member of it, and he wanted to retire. And he says, this is real.
And you're married to his daughter?
His oldest daughter. He had no sons.
Okay.
Right? And no son-in-laws. So I said, he said, this is real construction now, right? It's unionized, heavy industrial construction, working at Inco and Falconbridge. So I looked around and I looked at, asked my parents, I said, hey, I'm the oldest son, and my other brothers are working here together. I said, a vacancy, a part vacancy of 6-8%. I said, what are we going to do? I have an opportunity, to get my salary paid for over there with my father-in-law, and with maybe a view that I can buy his company. And I remember asking my dad, I said, yeah, Dad, I said, what are we going to do? My dad said, what makes one of us stronger makes us all stronger. Okay. So go there and try as hard as you can. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, you can always come back home. So there I was like the prodigal son almost, right? So I said, wow. I said, that's that little incentive I needed. And so I said to my father, I said, Tom, I'm in. And so I went there for the first year, sort of managed things, and very quickly after the first year, I said, Tom, I've seen a lot of people that don't have the right roles, and they're thinking the wrong way for their positions because there's some ownership. So we cleaned up all the ownership, and I bought it. So I owned it in 2000.
In 2000.
And we started, right? And the sales back then were nickel was $1.85 a pound. It was crazy low, right?
Yeah.
And things were drying up, and so. But it's a brand new business for me, a brand new challenge, and so.
There's a lot of stick handling in that in your business.
Yeah, there is, and you got to call audibles right all the time. So nickel at 185, and I go knock on Inco, and it was hard to get work over there. But one thing led to another, and I also recognized just because I bought TESC that you can't put up a sign saying Dario's here, give him some work.
Yeah.
That takes, you just putting up a sign that's where you have to knock on doors, buy them a cup of coffee, like I did with my school, and they get to know you because people don't give business to a company, they give to a person.
Yeah.
Right. So I got to know them all individually, and I took my lumps, a couple of jobs that I'm sure I suffered at, right?
Yeah.
But then you make a name, and so the TESC grew, and then of course this growth ambition, this curse of ambition. I'm just we're driven. We're gonna go more. We're gonna grow more. So I remember the sales going from 4 million to 6 to 8. 4 years later, I was the biggest year ever, did 20 million in sales, and then I got to land this big, unbelievable job in 2006.
Okay.
And it just put us on a different level.
What was that job?
It was the copper separation project at Clareville Mill.
Okay.
It was a game changer. It was huge. It was cost plus under that's when nickel was going at $26 a pound.
Okay.
So I caught this upswing in the economy, and it was an unbelievable job. And it was fast, 6 months, and we shone on that one. And then from that one there, the sales just kept going. I said, wow, we're going to diversify. I got an office in Hamilton, one in the Sioux, one in Saskatoon. So our sales actually peaked, right, to over 140 million.
Okay.
And
This is before 2010.
it went beyond that. It went probably 2012.
Okay.
Right? And then at that point in time, and this is how we get into the land across the street now.
Yeah.
So here I am, and my goals of TESC are to make it go national, from coast to coast. And to be national, I wanted to build a building, much like you see on Highway 400 on the right-hand side, or you see all glass, but it's industrial building, you see all kinds of glass. And I wanted a highly visible, sexy-looking, national-looking company,
Sure.
right, with a big yard in the back.
Yeah.
And so Perry DeLeese comes to me, a partner of mine.
How did you know him?
I grew up with him here in the
Okay.
grade 7 at St. David's, just
Okay.
down the road here.
So you're childhood friends?
Childhood friend. He was my roommate first year at Western.
Okay.
He was my roommate, so always been friends. And now he's a lawyer and a securities lawyer down in Toronto, very successful. And so his family had this piece of property. He said, Dario, I want to sort of clean it up. Are you interested in buying some industrial land? And I talked to my brothers because we had the land across the street. And my brother said, we're not interested. I said,
Yeah.
well, before I do anything against the family, I said, I'm going to do it myself because I want a place for TESC. And they said, so my brothers said, go ahead. And so me and Perry bought the property.
Okay.
And I said, Perry, I will do all the work. I'll do all the land, because I know how to do subdivisions and draft approvals and draft plan subdivisions. So I've done all that way in my previous life. I said, I'll do that, Perry, at no charge, but the block in the middle, it's a little bit elevated. I'm going to keep it for myself. It's flat on top. I'm going to keep it for myself because I want to build a TESC corporate office there, my world headquarters there.
Yeah.
And he said, no problem. And so I went through all the motions, did all that, and so I own a piece of property with my Perry across the street. Now my brothers are on the other side across the street, and I'm running TESC, and we're just ramping up. We're at 130 million in sales, and then 3 years ago there was I guess the first game of the Wolves of the year.
Okay.
It was fogged out because
Yeah.
they drilled through a.
Have you always been a Wolves? Like, were you a Wolves
Never.
fan? Okay, so you
Except for I thought that chocolate bar.
a casual fan.
Hardly went, right? And so I was too busy working. I wouldn't go to Wolves games. But there was an expression of interest put up by Fabio Belli saying, "Hey man, we cannot have our Sudbury Arena fogging out like this.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing." You know, even the people who came to the game had to be sent away, and they weren't refunded the money.
Yeah.
It was an embarrassing situation, and so at the end of the day, once Fabio Belli puts out this expression of interest, who's interested in building a new Sudbury for Sudbury?
Yeah.
And I looked at Perry and said, Perry, I said, you know that block of land right in the middle, 25 acres, that I was going to keep for myself? I said, at TESC Contract, they had an office in the Sioux, and I did the structural steel
Okay.
for
the
the SR Center. Right?
Okay. That was a big job, eh?
It was big enough, but the overall complex of 5,500 seats, I think the overall cost of the job was $25 million.
Okay.
But I only did the structural steel and all the bleachers, which I used local contractors here, like Rainbow Concrete, to supply the bleachers. So I did, as far as I did the hard part, right? Like 2 cranes putting up a big piece of steel and fabricating it and installing all those heavy pieces. That's the hard part. So I was so proud of that. I remember walking in the middle and I said, we can do this. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
And so, because I did that, right, and since then I've done a lot of other bigger, you asked me my biggest project, I've done like a $40 million job out in Saskatoon, right?
What was that?
It was a big head frame. Like
Okay.
the tallest structure between Winnipeg and Calgary.
Okay.
It's like 500 feet in the air.
That's a big head frame.
It was huge. And I was scared. I was
Yeah.
scared because the wind is windy out there, right? Putting up steel that high in the air. But it worked out. But so I built the SR Center. So I said, Fabio Belli comes out with this thing, the city expression of interest. I said, well, if I did it once for someone else, I could do it for ourselves. I said, Perry, I said, I got a block of property right in the middle. The highest and best use might not necessarily be my little TESC contracting shop. Let's build a Sudbury Arena there. So I submitted an expression
What
of
did
interest.
Perry think at first? Did he go, "You're nuts, Dario"?
No, he said,
No?
do what you want, right? Do what you
Okay.
want. He agreed with it. Perry's a very optimistic guy too.
Yeah.
He says, why not? And I said, Perry, I've done one before. Let's do it again. We can build it right there. So I put an expression, a very simple expression of interest. They asked for 2 pads, 6,000 seats. Who's interested? And I said, I'm interested. I've done one before. I can do it again on the land. And that's where it all started. And so the more I worked with Perry through his contacts down in Toronto, he met a guy named Tom Anselmi.
Anselmi, yep.
And he was the president COO of the Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment.
Right.
So he's become our advisor. He's since actually just about a month or so ago, he just became the president of the Ottawa Senators.
Oh, wow.
The CEO.
Yeah.
Very good contact for us. He knows in hockey, he knows development. And so So Perry knew him through Canada Walk of Fame on the board, introduced us, and he became our advisor. He says, he looks at this model, he says, this model works in a market size Sudbury for the Sudbury Arena.
Yeah. So a 2-pad, 6,000 foot.
That seat, works. That as long as you got parking, because we're never going to have a subway system in Sudbury, right? We move around via our roadway. And so he says it works, the model works, it's sound, and it gives a lot of credibility. So that's number one.
Yeah.
So he became an advisor to us, and then after expression of interest, so I started talking to a lot of people, and I went to go see Mark Burgess. I said, Mark, would you be interested in moving the Wolves over, to the east end of the city, just a minute away from the MIC, the Costco,
Sure.
or not, from the corner of Falconbridge and the Kingsway. He said, I have no problem with this, as long as you have more parking. He says, if I have more parking, I sell more season tickets. I need parking. That's all he complained about.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he complains about parking. He said, if I had more seasons parking, I had more season tickets. It's just impossible to park across the King and walk to a game in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
I said, okay, well, Mark, I said, I can get you parking more than enough. I said, I got nothing but land up there, and we can do it cheap and fast. So he was all for it. And so, because I said, I didn't want to fit a square peg in a round hole. I said, I don't want to do it just because we want to win. Does it make sense from a hockey point? He says, it makes sense. And then the more I looked at the model, the more I said, wow, there absolutely should be a requirement that the owner of the team and the operator of the arena be one and the same.
Okay. Why?
Well, because as a typical landlord, in my experience as a landlord, the landlord wants to increase the rents, the tenant wants to keep it down.
Yeah.
The operator of the team wants to reduce the rent. As a landlord, you want to increase it, right? Yeah. And there's these synergies, right? Sooner or later, like if the owner of the team wants to give a bag of popcorn with a ticket, right? You can't unless you do the popcorn too, right? Yeah. And if the owner of the team, has these opportunities to sell boards and signs, there's an opportunity to do it all together. It should be all the same. So there's not this inherent conflict.
Sure.
And so it became apparent to me for sure, to make ends meet at the team, you got to be operating the facility, and you got to operate like you own it. And hence my model that's come forth, right? You have to operate like you own it because you're all aligned. The property manager and the tenant. You're
what
aligned.
year are we at now?
This was just 3 years ago.
This is 3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years ago.
2014,
Yeah.
13, 14?
Yeah, 13. Christmas 2013. So that's when the expression of interest came out.
Okay.
3 years ago. And then with Tom, I started going around the city, and I started saying, this is what we can do. Mm-hmm. We can build an event center. But back then, I didn't have a team. Yeah. And we can build an event center right there.
You didn't even want to own the team at that time?
No, but the more I talked to Mark, if you ever chance, no, you know what? I'm gonna take my time. Not just yet. But I was on him. And I kept asking Mark, what do you think? No, I didn't want to sell it. No, yeah, other people are interested. No, doesn't want to sell it. And I kept on him every 2 months. I'd ask him, Mark, is he interested in the team? And then I remember it was a hard negotiation, but by the end of it, he agreed.
Like, did you just pester him for 3 years?
He would tell you I did. He said, Dario, your tenacity. That's the reason why I find it, because you didn't give up.
Yeah.
He'd say no, and then there was a deal with someone else, and it fell apart. I tried to get no, and then I finally tried to get. I remember that very last time I went to Mark. Mark said, I'm going to stay for another 2 year. And I remember talking to Mark. I said, okay, Mark. I said, this is the last time I call you. I said, but say hello to your new landlord. I said, one way or another, I'm going to build this arena. Yeah. And I'll be on the other side of this. But he said, no, Dar, thanks, but and he was really respectful for the whole thing. He said, no, I'm going to just wait a little while. So then I'm driving back to my office down the Kingsway, right? And I'm saying, okay, now, this is after I bought the water tower. Because I remember, this was this past summer.
Because you announced you sort of took part in that big projects meeting in November, right, of 2015.
Yes.
That's sort of the first indication, I think, that the city got that you have interest in this arena.
Yep.
And then it was late July, though, that you announced that you bought the water tower.
Yeah. So
before you announced you bought the team.
That's right, because I did buy it before. So in November 15, the city said we got these 16 projects. Yeah. And then they shortlisted it in March of 16 to 4. Yeah. Right. And then from those 4, I was trying to pick up a professional basketball franchise.
Really?
And the commissioner come into town, and he says, "What the hell's that?" He says, "For sale sign on your water tower." I said, I know. Whoever comes into town, see a for sale sign on a rusted water tower, and I'm looking at it, and I'm saying, it shouldn't be for sale. Mm-hmm. I knew the owner. He had ALS.
Yeah, we've done stories with him in the past.
And so I said to Jeff, Jeff, let's come to a deal, and maybe I can help you out. Maybe make a donation. Maybe I'm an optimist. I said, well, maybe I could raise some awareness for you. I'll dedicate some money towards you, and this awareness could raise you money and do your stem cell research and so on.
Was it let me just back up a little bit, because it's like it seemed to me that you were kind of, it almost seemed like you were kind of running a play. Like you were trying to get to the basket in this case. You made the announcement in November that you wanted to build an arena.
Yep.
Then, well, and then come July, you announce, okay, well, I'm going to buy the water tower downtown.
Yep.
Then within a week or so of that, then all of a sudden it's announced that, hey, Dario Zulich is the new owner of the Sudbury Wolves. Looking from the outside looking in, all that seemed very deliberate. Like you sort of made these announcements in a kind of in a strategic way to sort of position yourself to make the True North Centre more of a reality. By buying the team, by giving something to downtown, by saying, you know what, we may take the team out of downtown, but here's the water tower, I'm committed to downtown. It all seemed very strategic. Was it?
You give me a lot more credit than you need to, for sure. It wasn't. One thing happens, like I am not that smart. I'm not that smart. I just go, and so again, we made our presentation in November.
Yeah.
And I remember
it was all just coincidental.
It was coincidental. So then in March it was announced 4th Street priorities, which I just loved, right? And so then I'm trying to pick up, I'm talking to Mark. Mark doesn't want to sell the team, okay? And so we're talking to the NBL. Mm-hmm. So we're talking, commissioner says, and he looks at the water tower, and it just tweaks it. That's like buying a big.
What month is this?
This would have been in April.
April of
May.
16.
Yeah.
Of 2016.
Yeah.
Okay, 2016.
April, May. And I'm looking around, and we said, that's like that water tower. I have paintings at home. There's postcards. Bruno Cavallo does drawings of this water. There's sites, and I knew Jeff Perrault. So I said, I think if we could pick this thing here up, someday I'd like, I could put a big sign on there, and really I just want to put a big sign saying True North Strong Center 5 minutes that way with a big arrow, right?
Okay.
And if it pays for itself, and he wanted a lot of money for it, but I was able to come up with a win-win deal with Jeff.
Okay.
So we closed on the deal, and now we have a water tower.
And this is in June-ish?
Yep.
July?
Yeah, in July when I made that announcement, right?
Okay.
We shook hands with his dad out there, and we raised some money for him, and I looked at it and I said, well, so it's an icon of Sudbury, and as long as it's preserved, it'll stick around forever. Yeah. And so I'm actually very proud of it. Not buying it for an investment. I bought it because the signs will just take care of itself. Renting the signs, and so and I am kind of proud of it. It's almost like a hobby, right? So that one there's strictly not an investment. It's not an investment, right? That's for sure. My brothers are looking at me crazy. In fact, my lawyer thought, there's you guys, or you're losing your mind in your old age. Same lawyer bought my townhouse when I was 19. I said, don't worry, it'll all come together. I didn't know it, right? And so then it was in June. No, I would have bought it in May because it was in June that I called up Mark Burgess.
Okay.
I said, Mark, are you interested? And no. And then I said, okay, Mark, this is the one last time. So I remember driving by that water tower down the Kingsway in my office. I said, I can't take no for an answer. And I called him one last shot. I said, Mark, I know you're still there with the accountant. This is my final offer, right? I upped it a little bit. I said, but I said, you know what? That way there tonight, I can.
And you won't discuss
well.
the cost, I assume.
No, I won't. No. It was a lot, and so one last little bit, I increased the price. And I said, you know what, Mark, do what you got to do, but tonight I'm going to sleep well, knowing that I've exhausted every last option. I can't say shoulda, woulda, coulda, what if. Yeah. I said, Dario, thank you very much, and I'll talk to the very generous, talk to my family. I was at the Sports Hall of Fame dinner that night, and don't I get a text from him, someone answered there, and couldn't breathe.
So you're at the Sports Hall of Fame dinner, which is in June, right?
Yeah, in June. It was in June, and me and Andrew sitting there, and all of a sudden,
what did the text say?
It says, Dario says, admire your tenacity and your passion and your spirit for the city of Sudbury and how I want to try to make Sudbury greater. It made me feel real good. Yeah. So he admired me for all that and how I was a good corporate citizen. And he said you'd be a great custodian of our team. Right. Guardian. Wasn't guardian, Andrew? It was guardian. You'd make a great guardian of our team because he was very fussy who he sold it to. Mm-hmm. It wasn't for money. He just wanted it owned by someone who cared. Sure. So I actually give him a lot of credit for that. So, and I'll never forget that. I cut and paste that little text because that was a flattering text to me. So you make a great guardian of a team. Let's meet tomorrow morning and we'll go over some of the non-monetary issues of the deal. So we met the next morning And I was on cloud nine. I said, wow, I ended up getting a deal. So it took me 3 months to go through the due diligence, and that's where I'm out on a limb.
Yeah.
I'm out on a limb because I am all in now, right? And like I've always been,
Yeah.
right? Whether it be the biggest apartment building, whether it be that I'm building, or the head frame I'm building, or the next big apartment building, or the commercial property.
Yeah.
I've always pushed the envelope,
Yeah.
and here I am.
I just want to talk a bit about the Wolves ownership. I mean, the fans of the Wolves. Mark Burgess is, and I've met him. He's a nice guy.
Yep.
But he was a contentious owner in a way. I mean, everyone had an opinion about Mark Burgess, and I don't want you to talk against him. I'm not asking you to do that. But when you came out as the owner of the Wolves, you came out saying, this is a new era. What do you want to do differently with the team? Like, is there something that you want to do differently with the team now that you are the guy that's making those decisions?
I keep telling everyone it's like pouring water on a wilted flower, right?
Okay.
And for whatever reasons, it is not the Burgess family. They run a great ship, right?
Sure.
But maybe you just need new blood. But I was able to, and he left me a great team, great coaching staff. I didn't change it much, right?
Yeah.
And great players. He told me he was a good player, and he told me I would do well this year. So I give him a lot of credit for that. And so, but I want to use the Wolves as I think they're they're embodiment of our spirit,
Okay.
of our city spirit, right? And I keep likening it to the Green Bay Packers.
Sure.
Right? Like Green Bay is a city of 100,000 people, and they fill a stand with 100,000 people. It's unbelievable. And there are cities like this, and their sports team is something that's their everything, and that's what I want the Sudbury Wolves to be. I want it to be on every person's lips, on the top of mind, everywhere, and it's like our city spirit. And so no, I'm looking forward to that. So I remember the very first day. I said my little speech there about my candy bar. I remember that, and I said, and that was the very first week I was able to walk around the arena, get to know the coaches, the players, so on, and it was all new to me. And that's when I decided, I said, you know what, I'm not going to be in a box.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in a box. I've always worn a white shirt and jeans. And at TESC contract.
We're going to talk about that in a second, but go ahead.
So I'm from the Donovan, right?
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what, I said, this isn't, and I remember someone saying, yeah, we traded this and we lost that game. It was always we.
Yeah.
And I said, wow. I said, you're right. And that's why in my first speech I said, there were owners before Burgess and myself, and there'll be owners after me. But this is still always our team.
Yeah.
It is we. And so if it's a we team, I'm going to sit in the stands.
Yeah.
And so I made a point. I made a point of making sure that every time fans come into the game, I shake their hands. And I'm getting to know a lot of them.
You are just as an aside, I've been to a couple of games since you've been, and you like to go out among the people.
I do, and
like you cheer with them, you party with them,
you
boo the referees with them.
I do. I shouldn't maybe, but because again, I don't much about hockey, right? But I'm a good fan.
Yeah.
So I walk around. I check my popcorn stands at the very beginning because that's the one thing fan really is the popcorn and the pop, and I make sure there's not too much salt on the popcorn. Yeah. And so then,
but you don't make sure everyone gets a chocolate bar.
No, for sure, no chocolate bars. Don't flaunt your chocolate bar or popcorn. But I make sure the concessions are all nice and clean, and I'm a fan, number one. And so then I walk around everywhere, and I'm giving high five to all of the concession staff.
Sure.
I can't influence so much the players, but I do influence the concession staff. And I remember the very first meeting I had with them. I said, I said, you're just as important as the players on the ice. And they looked at me in disbelief. There's 60 of them talking. I said, you are. I said, you're going to wear the Wolves logo on your shirt and on your hat. And when you are happy behind the concession stands and a fan comes in and you make him happy by servicing him properly, he's going to go back to his seat quickly, he's going to sit down, and he's going to whistle louder, he's going to cheer louder, and that electricity transfers from him down to the ice, and our players get infused with that, and then we win.
Yeah. You're
just as important as the player on the ice. When we say we are Sudbury Wolves and we are Wolves, we truly are. And not just the players, but everyone in the organization.
Okay.
Actually, everyone in the community is going to start chanting that because we all are Wolves. We're all part of Sudbury Wolves.
Certainly your purchase of them generated a lot of, you had people dressing up as you at Halloween, slightly spurned maybe by one of our videographers who came up with this idea of dressing her kid up as Dario Zulich, but then a number of other people did as well. Yeah. You had people with signs like "In Dario We Trust," and things like that. Did you anticipate that kind of response from the fans?
No, I was just being myself. Right?
Yeah.
I was just being, so I walk around and make sure the concession's there.
It must feel nice though to be kind of. I mean, you're a celebrity at the moment.
They give me high fives. And you're right. So I walk up and down all the aisles every game. I make a point of going up and I look at people and I thank them for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming to the game, to the show. I keep calling it. Right, and then so I don't get heckled. Right, but while the play's on, I actually find an empty seat and I sit down. Right, because I don't want to block someone's view. And sure enough, when they score, I'm standing up, I'm high-fiving everyone. It doesn't matter
We've
who's
got
around
photos
me.
of
Yeah,
it.
is that right?
Yeah,
I'm high-fiving everyone because we own the Wolves. This is our team.
Yeah.
And I go up and down every single, and they get to know me, and I'm starting to get to know them. And so I do my round. So I was not expecting that in the least bit. I was just being, gracious as their host.
Yeah.
And so my brothers are up there, and TESC also has a box up there. But I still visit everyone, right?
Yeah.
But my job is to be down below with the people.
Okay.
And it's fun, and I get to see that game from every single seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let's sort of move on. Let's talk about True North now. Let's talk about it. You have been going around for months. You've been talking to community groups. You've been talking to cans. You've been talking to you've been holding meetings after meetings, public meetings, inviting people to come down to give a couple of hours of their time to listen to you with a massive PowerPoint, constantly evolving PowerPoint presentation about what you are calling, because you're not calling this a development. You're calling this, you have called this a vision.
That's right.
You have a vision for how you think Sudbury could have, and you're not even calling it a complex anymore. Now you're calling it an entertainment district.
A district. It's an economic district. It's
Yeah.
a destination. Even though if you think of it in bigger picture, it's an industry. I think it's an industry now.
But where, I mean, we can talk about the sort of the things that you want to include in True North. I mean, you're talking about a couple of ice pads. You're talking about a motorsports park. You're talking about a casino. You're talking about a hotel. I mean, this thing has grown from a couple thousand, 6,000 foot, 6,000 seat place with a couple of pads to something that's, like an amusement park.
Yeah. Well, we are listening to those fans, right? And to
What do you mean? You're listening to the fans?
When I'm talking to them, I'm talking about it, and they said they would like when I dropped the idea of being able to put a multi-pad, a rec center, and sure enough, coincidentally, at the exact same time, the casino was tendered for, and other casinos wanted to be located in the general vicinity, same vicinity, and actually be connected. And then with that, there was a hotel that wants to be there. Now you can build a complex that could be a conference convention center. I talked to the people about that, and I'm listening, and they said, we want this. Yeah. And so again, it's evolved. One thing leads to another, nothing by design, right? But Tom Brady, how he won the Super Bowl was not by design.
Sure.
But he won because he called an audible, right? And he never gave up. Did you see that Super Bowl?
I did, yeah.
It was unbelievable. And so you can't never give up. And that's not by design. So you can have a strategy, but you're gonna have to improvise along the way and just never give up. But you're right. So I'm gonna take the Wolves, and we're gonna use that to build an event center.
Okay.
But the event center, I don't just want to build a building like a downtown building or anywhere. We want to use that building as the flagship or cornerstone of what I call a sports entertainment district or destination, which could include a casino for gaming, a hotel, conference, convention center, and even a motorsport park. Now all of a sudden this clustering there's a clustering of these sports entertainment type of venues that create a critical mass.
Okay.
And so it starts getting a life of its own. Not only do you save money, capital money by building it together at the exact same time, you also save operating money at the exact same time. And so the operating costs come lower. And then and one complements the other. And it's going to create this critical mass that can just drive itself. So it's like I said, it's a team into an event center, which is into an entertainment complex or district or even economic district, and which is even an industry. It could be a sports and tourism industry in Sudbury. Yeah. And it's not just for Sudburyans, but it's for the north, for northeastern.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask, because I like it. I mean, you have this. It's a massive vision that you have. How is that sustainable? Like, what is your? I mean, you're a business guy. You're a numbers guy. I mean, Sudbury's population has grown very little in the past 5 years.
Yeah.
The economy is not as healthy as it has been at various times. The north isn't really a growing place. How can Sudbury sustain like a district of the? I mean, it's bigger than downtown Sudbury. The footprint of it is larger than downtown Sudbury.
But it's all about the capital costs.
Okay.
Right? So the capital costs got to be contained.
Right.
And so the land is available, zoned, contaminant free. It's on rock, so it's very good soil to build on. And the capital cost is quite low. I built one in the past, and I'm hoping to design it and build it with the intent of operating it and keeping those costs in control, the capital costs.
Yeah.
But then you need operating. You have to operate as well, and operating that facility, as a group is also important. We got to contain our costs.
Okay.
So the only way to make ends meet, if it costs you nothing, on the extreme, costs nothing to operate, then you can make ends meet. But if it costs you too much, if it costs too much to operate, then you can't make ends meet.
That's
So
right.
that's what you have to do. You have to first contain the capital costs, then you got to contain the operating costs, and then from there, start, and then you got to drive the revenue.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You can't be.
Those are
complacent
huge.
about
Are those
revenue.
not huge challenges for a city Sudbury size, for an economy like Northern Ontario's? Is that not a huge challenge?
It is, but I believe again with effort and determination, we should be able to bring these big acts or events into town.
Okay.
And it's just a matter of dreaming it, right?
Yeah.
So if you wanted the next Briar, you got to call them up. Someone's got to call them up and say, hey, let's bring Briar Sudbury.
Yeah.
Do you have a facility? Yeah, we do. Right? Oh, I'm sorry, we're busy till 2025. No problem. Put it in the book. 2025 comes on its own, right? Call up. You can get a ping pong championship. You get I saw ping pong or the gymnastics. It could be tennis championships, and those are just sporting events. Then you can go to conferences and trade shows. It's just a matter of making almost like, in my opinion, from the revenue line. Start with the revenue. It's almost like having like a NORAD, right?
Right.
NORAD. You have this radar across the country of these years that go out into the future, and of these various types of events and opportunities that could use the building. It's just a matter of now calling. They're not going to call us. We have to call them.
Yeah.
And Sudbury is, and as long as you have the conference, convention, trade show space, the hotels, Sudbury's a beautiful city.
Yeah. No
They
doubt.
will come, and we just have to go get them to come in.
No doubt.
And so I think we can do it.
Yeah. How many? Like, just you now casino. Have there been? Have you spoke? Can you talk about that? Have you?
Well, I haven't really spoken too much because other than the fact that they're interested.
They're
interested
you've spoken
in
to some
co-locating
casino
on the site.
development companies.
Yeah, Gateway Casino is the
Okay.
successful proponent.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested in.
And you've spoken with them.
Oh, absolutely. And we're
And it doesn't surprise me that you've already gone and knocked on their door. You seem like that
knocked
kind of
on
guy.
everyone's door.
Yeah.
Everyone's door to make sure they knew me before and afterward and since. And so
What about a hotel? I mean, have you spoken with hotel developers as well?
I have actually. I was able to speak to the casino operators and said I'd like to actually have the hotel ownership separate from the casino so we can keep it local.
Okay.
And we can go out there, we can find private investors, and we can keep it local. And so I've done feasibility studies, and the market can bear some additional hotels and rooms in the city, even of a higher end.
Is that right?
And so you're right. You gotta just put it on the list, dream it, and then you just knock it off one at a time.
Okay.
And but you have to believe.
Yeah.
You have to believe. If you go into this thinking and saying it's impossible, you're done. Right? Anything.
Your idea is that this thing can actually draw from across the north. I mean,
Absolutely.
Sudbury already draws
Guaranteed.
people here from across the north for shopping or for shows.
That's right.
But we don't, I mean, the Sudbury Arena, as wonderful a barn as it is, it's not really a great place to see a concert necessarily.
That's
I
right.
know acts have, either wanted to come and can't because it can't handle them or just haven't gone there.
Yep.
You think a new structure, a new building, a new development, and this complex you want to build can bring in bigger acts, more of them, right?
Well, the casino will go a long way towards one of that too.
Yeah.
So again, it's this critical mass. So we all want to have the same thing. The casino would want these big acts. We would want the big acts. And so again, we're creating this destination. There's a lot of reasons why they should be clustered together.
Yeah.
And of course, lately, now with WestJet just coming to Sudbury too. Now, it's almost faster You know, any big event or promoter in Sudbury, you know, hosting an event or a big show could claim that Toronto's actually closer to us than it is to Orillia. You have to drive to Orillia, but you can fly to Toronto to Sudbury, right? And so we have access to 5 million people. So I'm expecting promoters to say, if you have a venue in Sudbury, you know, you're just a 1 hour flight, $100 away from this venue up in Sudbury, and we're that much closer to the airport. So we got to start thinking like we're the Casino Rama. Why are busloads of people going to Casino Rama instead of coming this way? And we are the hub of the North, and we just have to act like it. And I have to believe in it. You know, you have to believe. Like, there's not a doubt in my mind that we can't make this the destination for Northeastern Ontario, and it's for sports, but also for you know, gaming as a form of entertainment, for shows, for conferences, conventions. The Motorsport Park is an incredible opportunity to bring people travel 14, 18 hours for their motorsport and an oval and drag strip and drag racing. There's another whole market out there that could just bolt right on, right? And as we start making family destination type plays, resort style type of a center, then places like Great Wolf Lodge is interested, right? They haven't committed to nothing, but there's been interest.
But you've spoken with them.
Yeah, there's interest in these companies to make family theme style destination in Sudbury. It's not going to be you know, Las Vegas, right? But it's going to be, you know, Las Vegas was built in the middle of the desert.
That is true.
Right? How did that happen? Right? Someone believed. Right?
The mob.
Well, it's sustaining now. Because it achieved a critical mass. It's no reason why it should be there. It's the same reason why bumblebees fly, right? Technically or physically, they should not be able to fly.
So they say.
But they fly. So I believe. And so I'm looking forward to some economic impact studies being produced by the city to show us what's the revenue model look like.
Two questions on that. I mean, and the vision is quite. I mean, you're a charismatic guy. So when people hear your presentation, see your presentation, like I know when you gave it to me, because we sat down and you gave me the presentation, and you sort of laid it all out for me, which I understand it's evolved since you visited me a month or two ago and sat me down and presented it to me. But it's. You know, people, they want to believe you. Like, they want to believe your vision when they hear you deliver, you know, the whole package. But at the same time, you're asking the city to kind of underwrite this project. That's asking a lot of taxpayers, is it not?
The opportunity cost is a lot bigger, I think, of not having this. And so the business model that I've yet to present to the city, because I'm waiting for the you know, to see what the city has a process, and I'm going to respect that process. So I'm not going to circumvent it. I want the city to go through its process and come up with the right answer. The model that I've always had in my mind made them somewhat of a partner of mine. Right. And so a partnership requires two people. Right, two parties. And so I'm looking for not even to give them money, but rather to guarantee a loan. It'll be no different than a student having a car loan guaranteed by their parents. Sure. It's still a student's loan.
It's a big loan.
That's right. It's a big loan.
It's a big loan.
Everything's relevant.
We haven't put I don't think you've publicly put a dollar figure on the entire complex, have you? On the entire district?
Not yet. No,
and you're not going to do that until the city.
Yeah, I believe the consultant's going to come up with an order of magnitude of the size of the complex. Of at least the event center. Sure. And then if you add all the different pieces together, it could add up quite a bit. But it's there's no question. There's a negotiation that has to happen, and in exchange for that guarantee on the mortgage, right? Our group will design and build and manage together with the teams, right, that I'm going to bring to Sudbury. Are going to manage and efficiently and being able to cover the nut. In the long term, this is real estate 101. Right? You're building an asset that appreciates. You're paying down a mortgage that with every payment, your payments are all the same, but your principal portion of every single payment increases, right? And so, and the better I'm able to grow the fan base for both the team, you know, whether it be the hockey team, or if I bring in basketball or lacrosse or any other sporting event, or any conference or trade show or a big show, the more we're able to do that, you know, then we'll be able to increase the revenue line, be cash flow positive, we'll be able to pay down the mortgage, and it appreciates in value in the next 30 years. And all the while, the city's going to own it.
Yeah.
I'm never talking about owning it. They're still always going to have an asset that they're going to own.
30 years out.
They own it day one.
Okay.
They will own it day one. I'm not proposing that you build it for me. No, I'm going to build it for them.
I've heard people say, well, if Zulich is asking us to guarantee the loan, why doesn't the city just build it itself? What do you offer that the city can't, I guess?
Our group is pretty entrepreneurial,
Right.
And we're designed to live, eat, and breathe that way, right? Most entrepreneurs are.
Sure.
Private sector. And so we're going to, and I can build it. I've built one in the past, right? I can operate it with my management expertise and schooling, and we can manage it properly. And I'm an entrepreneur enough to bring in the revenues. Not to say I'm the best, right? Other people can do, but in this circumstance right now, I have the team, the operating experience, and the property, and the ability to build it.
Yeah.
There's not another party out there that can do this, except for our team, and our team is deep.
Yeah. So you're offering, if I can paraphrase, you are offering sort of a team and a vision that the city doesn't have at the moment. Is that what you're saying?
The city might have that vision too. I
Okay.
wouldn't say that that's exclusive vision, just an option,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not actually even saying at this point it has to be mine.
Okay.
If there's a more viable option out there somewhere,
Yeah.
then we're ready to accept it. Like
Yeah. If the city comes out and says, you know what, Dario, thanks, but no thanks.
well, they'd have to.
Or if the consultant's report sort of favors another direction, you're okay with that?
Well, if a consultant who's smarter than I am,
Sure.
right, and a lot of people are, and if a consultant is smarter than I am,
Yeah.
comes out and says it's better for the city of Greater Sudbury to do this, why would I say no?
Yeah.
Like, why would anyone say no?
Sure.
So that's all the city council is waiting for. Let's just make sure we have the right answer. So I'm not saying mine's the right answer. That's the only one I can see right now. I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what else is out there. So all I can do is push mine. So that's why this presentation, this vision I've been pushing,
Yeah.
this vision could be anywhere. Let's make sure we do something. That's all. It doesn't necessarily have to be on my site.
Okay.
If it makes sense somewhere else,
And the Wolves are going to stay here. Like you don't, if things don't go your way, the Wolves are going to be a Sudbury team.
Absolutely.
As long as you're the owner.
you can I'll sign it in blood.
I'm not asking.
I will sign it in blood.
Although that would be good for
this
video,
is
that would be
our team,
Yeah.
right? I'm just as Mark Burge would say, I'm just a guardian of it for now.
Yeah.
But this is our team. It's going to stay here. Yeah, there's been, someone called and said, why don't you move up to Timmins, right? Because they want to build an arena too.
Sure.
And we call them the Timberwolves, even makes more sense, right? Nope, not on my watch. This team's been around for almost 100 years, right? OHL for 45. It's an integral part of our city. It, I believe, forms the spirit of our city, and,
Yeah.
and it can be an unbelievable force that could bring us all together.
Yeah.
I have pictures of Max Silverman, the previous mayor from 1935, standing in the middle of the team as the coach.
Yeah.
The politics and the team, we're all the same, right? So I bought what I think is the #1 brand, the second best hockey league in the world, outside the NHL. And so I'm comfortable with that. And if it's been around 100 years, it will be around for another 100 years. I'm going to make sure, at least on my watch.
Okay.
At least on my watch. And I'm excited about using it though to make sure that we do something in Sudbury.
Okay.
It doesn't matter where it is. And I sincerely say that it does not have to be my property. If there's a better solution, I'll be the first guy to say, well, that's better.
Okay.
Right? I'm not going to force a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
And I don't see no other hole though. Right? I don't see.
Not at the moment. No one really is.
No, I'm waiting, and
Yeah.
I'm waiting, and I'm
Are you
patient.
anticipating that when the consultant comes out finishes the report it's actually the end of this month they're expecting it by
March
the end
7th.
by the end of release, but
yeah.
by the end of February they're expecting it to be done.
Yeah.
So there could be more. I mean, there could be more people sort of once there's
Yeah,
a
but
sort of an idea.
I think
there could be more
the consultant
developers.
first phase is going to talk about what should we build? What
Yeah.
could the market actually
Sustain.
Which you asked me.
Sure.
So I'm looking forward to that study.
Yeah. In asking the city to loan guarantee this thing, that's a big commitment you're asking from taxpayers. That's a lot of trust you're asking from people in Sudbury. Why don't you just build the damn thing yourself? Like, instead of going to the taxpayers and saying, look, guarantee this loan. I have this great vision. It's amazing. Like, this is incredible. We can do this together. Why don't you just build it yourself?
A lot of people have asked me that, right? I own the team, own the land. I can build a building and find money. So why not build it myself? So, no reason why I shouldn't. Firstly, if I were just to build it for myself, just for the team, it would not be of a scale. The complex, right, the arena event center, would not be of a scale that's suitable for the size of the city. I'd build 3,000 or 4,000 seats, right? And that would be very short-sighted in the bigger picture. There's other major reasons why I shouldn't do it myself. Number one is the federal government is not going to come and give Dario Zulich $20 million. The city will own it, and they're going to give the city $20 million. I'm just talking about designing it and building it and running it for the city, but the city owns it. So they're going to give the city $20 million, not Dario. They're not going to lend Dario 1% money or 2% money, because they'll lend it to the city of Sudbury, not to Dario. So those are some of the reasons why it should be owned by the city, right? But the bigger reason is that there's when I do my financial model, there is not a line item in there that talks to the downstream, economic ripple effects of this thing, whether it be the 1,000 jobs that it'll create, or even better than that, the increase to the GDP of Sudbury for making our city whole. Right? Our city needs to be whole, more cosmopolitan, and when it's cosmopolitan, then it's able to attract more students to Sudbury, and they will stay in Sudbury. Outside people and tourism will come into Sudbury and spend their dollars here for tourism dollars, and even higher paying professions might come to Sudbury. The other day, a real estate agent asked me, Dario, why don't you give us your package? Because I'm trying to convince this doctor to come into Sudbury, to move to Sudbury, and she wants to convince her husband and her children. And so this package would say this: Sudbury has more to offer than just come to Sudbury for a high-paying job, right? Because we are a well-rounded city. So that kind of return on the GDP of Sudbury is not on a line item on my arena. That is the city's responsibility to create us a whole, well-rounded, like I said, cosmopolitan city that can cater and show these long-term economic ripple effects to the city.
It kind of seems like you're asking taxpayers to kind of partner with you on this vision that you have for a development that raises the profile and the economy of the entire city. Is that kind of where your vision is at?
Absolutely. It makes us whole. It makes us whole. We are the economic hub.
You think big.
Well, we are the economic hub of medicine and hospitals, right? For Northeastern Ontario. Sure. We're the hub of education with the colleges and university. We're the hub of tourism, right? The hub of retail. The 200,000 people per year come to our Costco because North Bay, the Sioux, and Timmins don't have a Costco. Right? We are the hub of businesses, right? And so we just want to, I'm thinking by making us more whole, by being the hub of sports entertainment, right? Then it just makes us more whole, more cosmopolitan, which just makes us a better place to be for people to come. And has a long-term economic impact, a beneficial economic impact, and a ripple effect. And of course, as one last spoke of, I think we can, there's still an opportunity to take, once an event center is built, to take the existing Sudbury Arena and turn that into the hub for arts and entertainment in Northeastern Ontario. There's a large arts and entertainment ecosystem in the north.
And the arts community seems to be in favor.
The Arts Council is endorsing it. The Symphony is endorsing it. We do have to find a home for the library and the art gallery, and which are part of the initiatives that the city wants to put forward as one of the 4 initiatives. And so there's just another win-win right there. The Elgin Street Greenway is a great project. We can still make our downtown, with its master plan, Elgin Street Greenway, an arts and cultural little village. We can still do that. We can have our cake and eat it too. And I'm seeing like some real good promise with all of these initiatives. But I'm not saying that that's the be-all and end-all. This is just my proposal. And if there's something better out there, I'm all for it. But at the end of the day, the one thing we should not do is just not do nothing. And so I'm just proposing my ideas and to stimulate conversation and make sure that it's not forgotten about.
Question.
Okay.
You've gotten quite a good public profile in the last in the last several months. Any notion of maybe switching over to politics? I mean, Mayor Dario Zulich?
No. People have said that before for sure. No.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for anyone to follow me.
Yeah.
Right? I'm looking for people to join me following our council.
Okay.
Our council has a serious job to do.
Yeah.
They have to be courageous, and you know, courage is moving forward, you know, notwithstanding uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. There's uncertainty in everything in life, but if there's a will, there's a way. And I have faith that our council and our mayor will lead us in the right path.
Okay.
Yeah.
If people, now you, as I said, you've been going around giving your presentation, your vision for this entertainment district.
Yep.
When's the next one? If people want to see you give this presentation, where can they see it?
Yeah. Well, pretty big one at LaSalle School for New Sudbury on March 1st.
LaSalle High School.
Yep.
Okay.
But I'm meeting with anybody.
Yeah.
I'll meet with 2 people or meet with 200.
Yeah.
I will meet with, and I've literally, you know, I was at my son's hockey tournament and I presented my presentation to all the parents there, you know, after the game in one of the hospitality lounges.
Yeah.
I presented it at Gloria's restaurant to 2 people. I presented to every counselor. I presented to, like I said, the chamber, the Rotary clubs, lawyers and accountants.
It's
and
the Dario
doctors.
Zulich Roadshow is what it is.
I'm talking to everyone, and again, the message that I'm sending is not it has to be on my site.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. I'm just saying this is a viable. It's
You
an
want people to
opportunity,
see
and
what
it's a
you're
viable
seeing.
option. Yep. And if it's not on my site, if there's nothing more viable somewhere else, then let's do it there.
Yeah.
But let's do something. Last thing I want to say is shoulda, woulda, coulda in 2017. You know, and do nothing. We've got to do something. We have an opportunity, and all these opportunities in front of us that we have to be optimistic about. And I know we all feel that way. I know this. Everyone I talk to feels that way. We're gonna think. We're gonna act our part. We are the hub of these things, so we have to think, and we're gonna act bigger, right? And we'll follow Mayor bigger.
So I mean, and Sudbury hasn't tackled a big project of that nature for, I mean, maybe since Science North Dynamic Earth kind of a thing. You know, that sort of, because what you're talking about is an attraction.
Yep.
You're not just talking about some place for a team to play. You're talking about an attraction.
That's right. That's right. It's big. It's out of the box thinking, not unlike Science North.
Yeah.
But you can't. You should never say never, and never say always. Right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But all I know is I'm going to sleep well at the end of this year, knowing that I've uncovered every stone, that I've done whatever I could, whatever it be. And who knows, maybe halfway through I have to call an audible.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't know how it's written. I can't see into the future.
Yeah.
But whatever it is going to happen is going to be good. It's going to be good for our community, and those are the God-given strengths and skill set that God given me.
What do your mom and dad think?
They're proud of me. They're proud of me for sure. They're proud of me, and I tell you, every day my mom calls me. She's in Florida right now, and she calls me. She lets me know if the Wolves won or lost, right? And she was disappointed when we lose, right? Because she's in it as well. But they're very proud, and I'm proud of my parents and my whole family. I'm proud of my family. We're a tight family, and always will be.
Well, Dario, I really appreciate your time. You gave us a lot of it today. I appreciate your patience. I appreciate you answering all my questions.
You know me a little bit better.
I think everyone's going to know you a little bit better after this.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much for watching, folks. We'll see you again next time.
Thanks, guys.
I want to particularly thank Beards for hosting us. If you like what you saw here, or even if you didn't, please come on down and give Beards some of your business. They've got good coffee, good tea. They've got some great baked vegan goods. It's delicious stuff. Come check them out. And if you have an idea for someone that you would like me to sit down and talk with, let us know in the comments below, or send me an email to editor@Sudbury.com, or you can also tweet at me at Mark Gentili. Thanks very much for your time.